Have you ever stopped to think that every single time a customer makes a purchase, there is a complex, split-second mathematical equation happening right inside their brain? Well, today we are opening up the Microeconomics playbook to decode that exact formula. We're going to use a super practical, everyday case study, the choice between tacos and burgers, to quantify the literal price of human satisfaction. We'll see exactly how customers weigh a product's features against their own personal budget.
Welcome to BizSimplified. In this explainer, we are breaking down the mechanics of individual economic choices through four main pillars: the mathematics of utility, the reality of budget constraints, the psychology of the indifference map, and finally, optimization.
Okay, let's dive right into this with our very first pillar. We need to define our most important metric, which is utility. In the business world, utility is literally just the satisfaction or the value someone gets from consuming a product. But to actually make this useful for us, we have to split it into two critical pieces. First, you've got total utility. That's the overall big picture satisfaction you accumulate from a certain amount of a product. And then there's marginal utility. This is absolutely crucial. Marginal utility is the extra added satisfaction you get from consuming just one additional unit. Understanding the mathematical gap between the total pile and that next single increment, that is where true pricing strategy is born.
All right, let's ground this in the raw numbers of our taco case study. If we track taco consumption per meal, we see a really fascinating trend. At 0 tacos, obviously your utility is 0. You eat 1 taco and boom, you gain 10 units of satisfaction. Your marginal utility is 10. Eat a second one and your total utility jumps up to 18. But notice something here. The marginal utility for that second taco is only 8. It's actually less than the first one. And as you scale up to 3, 4, and 5 tacos, the total utility keeps growing, eventually maxing out at 30, but that marginal utility, it just steadily shrinks. It goes to 6, then 4, then 2, and eventually it just hits 0. And this right here perfectly visualizes the law of diminishing marginal utility. It basically says that after a certain point, the added satisfaction you get from each extra unit drops off. Just look at how the marginal utility completely tanks to a -2 by the time we hit the 7th taco. The total utility actually falls from 30 back down to 28. Forcing down that 7th taco doesn't just give you 0 pleasure, it actively makes you feel worse. It's a pretty funny reminder that in economics, just like at an all-you-can-eat buffet, overeating completely ruins the vibe. For us in business, this proves you absolutely cannot just keep pushing identical products on a single customer and expect them to value it the exact same way every time. Now, what's really interesting about this next step is how we transition from theoretical satisfaction into actual, cold, hard market reality. Let's map out our financial constraints. By putting the quantity of tacos on one side and burgers on the other, we basically create a blank canvas where a consumer's unlimited desires violently clash with their very limited wallets.
Enter the budget set. This shaded area represents every single combination of burgers and tacos that our consumer can actually afford based on what's in their bank account and the fixed prices of the food. If a combination falls anywhere inside this boundary, they've got the cash to buy it. It's their entire realm of financial possibility.
But, rational people usually want to maximize what they have. The absolute outer boundary of this affordable zone is called the budget line. This line represents combinations that perfectly drain the consumer's entire budget down to the last cent. Just look at the endpoints. Up at point Y, if they blow everything on tacos, they get exactly 30. Down to point X, if they spend it all on burgers, they get 10. That line connecting them, that shows the strict, unavoidable mathematical trade-offs in between.
So let's look at a specific, realistic choice sitting right on that budget line. Point E gives us 8 burgers and 6 tacos. This consumer has spent every penny they allocated for this, going with a heavy burger, light taco mix. This right here is practical resource allocation in action. It's a customer perfectly optimizing their spending to extract as much physical product as their specific income allows.
Now, to really prove how this budget set works, contrast point E with point I. Since point I sits deep inside that shaded affordable area, representing just 2 burgers and 10 tacos, it is 100% attainable. But the consumer has leftover money. In standard utility theory, leaving money on the table when you could theoretically be buying more satisfaction means you just aren't fully maximizing your potential.
To wrap up our look at financial realities, check out point J, 4 burgers and 18 tacos. Just like point E earlier, this sits exactly on the budget line. It perfectly drains the wallet, so the financial boundary is firmly set.
But that leads us to a massive business question. Between point E and point J, which one does the consumer actually want?
To answer that, we have to pivot away from the harsh financial reality of the budget line and look at our third pillar, the internal, psychological side of consumer behavior. We need to define the indifference curve. In textbook terms, an indifference curve is a map showing all the different combinations of goods that generate the exact same level of satisfaction for a person.
To actually map this out, we need to completely remove money from the equation for a second. We are now charting pure, unadulterated human preference to see exactly how our customer evaluates trade-offs in their own mind.
Let's move 2 and see how this builds. Observe our familiar point E again, 8 burgers and 6 tacos. Now contrast that with point F, 7 burgers and 9 tacos. Because both of these combinations sit on the exact same curve, the consumer is equally happy with either one. They are perfectly indifferent between the two. In their mind, losing 1 burger is flawlessly made up for by gaining 3 tacos. This psychological exchange rate, academics call that the marginal rate of substitution.
Now let's look at a different bundle. Point H sits high up, above, and to the right of our indifference curve. It just represents more goods overall. Mathematically speaking, any point above the curve is going to generate higher utility. It's a superior combination, and a rational consumer will always aim for it if their budget suddenly expands.
On the flip side, contrast that with point G, which is sitting way below the initial curve. This combo offers fewer goods, and it's just an inferior option. It generates measurably less satisfaction, and honestly, the consumer will naturally try to avoid dropping down to this lower level of utility whenever they can.
So just to reiterate this core psychological concept, point F and point E yield the exact same utility. They are totally equivalent. The consumer is completely happy to just slide up and down this specific curve, trading tacos for burgers without losing a single drop of overall happiness. And this brilliantly illustrates the whole shebang, the indifference map. You see, human preference isn't just one static line. It's an infinite series of curves. As you map them out, C1, C2, C3, utility systematically increases as you move up and to the right. C3 gives you more satisfaction than C2, which gives more than C1. The consumer's ultimate psychological goal is always to climb to the highest possible curve on this map.
So the crucial point is, how do we find that ultimate business sweet spot? Well, that brings us to our fourth and final pillar, optimization. Maximizing utility happens when a customer's psychological desire perfectly aligns with market realities. Or to put it academically, they maximize utility exactly where their marginal rate of substitution, that internal trade-off rate we talked about, perfectly matches the actual market price ratio of the goods.
To actually find this magical formula for business success, we have to merge our two distinct concepts together. We take the objective financial budget line and we layer it over the subjective psychological indifference map. What we are hunting for is the precise mathematical point of tangency.
And boom, this convergence creates the optimal consumer choice. Maximum utility is achieved at the precise spot where the highest reachable indifference curve perfectly touches or is tangent to the edge of the budget constraint. They literally cannot reach a higher psychological curve because they just don't have the money. And if they chose a different point on that budget line, they'd end up dropping to a lower inferior indifference curve. This single point of tangency is where rational choice lives. This is the exact moment the purchase happens.
So we've broken down the exact mathematics of satisfaction, from diminishing marginal returns all the way to indifference mapping. But look, academic theory is only as good as its practical execution. How will you apply utility maximization to your business today? Are you going to rethink your product bundling now that you know exactly how consumers mentally trade one feature for another? The true economic value of what you sell isn't just the price tag slapped on it. It is finding that exact mathematical point where your customer's budget perfectly intersects with their greatest satisfaction. Keep analyzing, keep simplifying, and we will catch you in the next explainer.